Peter Credlin has found a new twist to her agenda, something she can focus on with regard to the Labor Party. Apparently, this particular issue is in relation to Dr. Jihad and whether Dr. Jihad should be brought back to Australia or whether his application to Australia should be denied, even though that's constitutionally unacceptable. But there again, Peter is the one who's the arbiter of ethics, the arbiter of values, Australian values, that she cherishes greatly. And that this is an attempt for her to be able to articulate her disdain for the Labor Party for even allowing someone like Dr. Jihad to return to Australia. But the thing that annoys me the most about this particular clip that I'm about to show you is that she wants to focus on the Labor Party as being an extreme, radical left group of people that are in the same basket as Islamic jihadists. And I find this a horrible, horrible contention. But nevertheless, this is where she's coming from, and I'll show you the video in just a second in relation to this. And then I'm going to show you a bit of an explanation from the ABC as to who Dr. Jihad is, so that you get kind of a broader picture of this man's plight and what's been happening to him. And I will admit that I think it was a stupid idea to go and provide your medical services in a place like Syria. And whether he has joined the Jihad is a different question. He says he hasn't. He said he was forced to do certain things for them, and one can imagine that's probably the case. But he should never have gone there in the first place. That's without question. Whether he's a jihadist or not is a different issue. But of course, for Sky News, he is. He is one of the worst people on this planet. And of course, they're arguing that he should not be able to return to Australia and that Albanese and the government should stop him. Now, I've heard this argument over and over again with regard to the ISIS brides. We know that it is unconstitutional to prohibit an Australian citizen from returning to our country. That it is so even if the government creates some creative way of dealing with this, it would be challenged in the High Court, and it would probably lose because of what the Constitution has to say. So we know all of that, but nevertheless, it's a chance to have a shot at Labor, and Credlin's just the one to do that. Then at the end of this video, I want to play a clip also from the media show on Sky News, and it is pertinent to some extent because they criticise a TV program that was the ABC, and I talked about this before, and it was horrible. And they talk about, I guess, the selling the idea that Australia is just this terrible, terrible place that is divided and is in conflict and all that other sort of negative stuff that they want to talk about. So, and I'll play that, and I'll talk about that at the end. But just for the moment, I'll play this clip from my friend Peter Credlin, and you can
listen carefully here to the words of former Labor Minister, former Army officer Mike Kelly.
The bad news is that there's these elements that are rising within the Labor movement that have this, unholy alliance between extreme revolutionary Marxists and Islamist extremists that are trying to pervert the party. And their goal is not a two-state solution, which is aligned with Hamas, because Hamas doesn't support a two-state solution.
Remember that? A Labor insider warning about the rise of Islamist extremists inside the Labor Party. Now listen today to the Prime Minister. Asked about the return to this country of Dr. Jihad, the Australian Islamic State doctor captured in Syria with hardcore terrorist fighters, now locked up in a jail in Iraq.
Citizenship does bring certain rights under the Constitution, and we will do everything we can. We, of course, within the law, though, and will also, of course, provide no support for any of these people to return to Australia.
See why Kelly's so concerned about the rise of Islamist extremists? That's his phrase, Islamist extremists inside Labor.
I guess my point here is that I don't know what Kelly's beef is. He was a military man. He's got maybe a beef with the Labor Party. I don't know. Don't really care what he is. But they drag up this statement from him. Now, I don't know. It said Sherry on Monday. I don't know whether he was on air on Monday saying those things or not. So I'll leave that as an unqualified statement. But the issue here is that there are terrorists within the Labor Party. That is what she's saying. Now, she's using his words and she's arguing alongside of the language that he's used. So she's basically, even though he says, right, I guess that gets her out of the shit if it came to someone suing her. But nevertheless, she's playing this video. She's advocating in a way for this, advocating for this argument, I guess, that there are jihadists, extreme left-wing people within the Labor Party. Now, in my view, there's absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever. And here's a report on the ABC that talks about Dr. Jihad and exactly what's happening for him. It's about 4 minutes long. Bear with it because it's worth listening to.
View of Tariq Kamle, the Perth-born, Adelaide-trained paediatrician. It was conducted by a German filmmaking crew last year and published in the middle of 2025 when he was still in a Syrian prison. We know now that he is in an Iraqi jail based on statements from Iraqi authorities, and that also tallies with reports that IS fighters held in Syria had been transferred across the border earlier this year. His face isn't shown in the video, the journalist saying that was a condition of him agreeing to speak to them. But the blurred photos of him and the IS propaganda videos they refer to are the same, which have been widely reported on and broadcast in Australia. So that's some of the background. Let's get to the substance of what he was saying around a year ago. He was asked how he ended up in Syria, and his response was that he had seen horrific scenes coming out of Syria and wanted to travel over there to work as a doctor. He said he approached Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, and asked to be deployed into Syria. When they offered to send him to Africa, he pulled back from that offer and made his own way into Syria through Turkey. Now, the German crew questioned the route he took to get there, the suggestion being he knew exactly where he was going, straight into the heart of Islamic State territory, and that there were other paths he could have taken. But Kamle claimed that wasn't his driving factor. He didn't have a plan, he just wanted to work as a doctor.
From beginning to end, I was working as a doctor for children. So I was running emergency and the ward and the nursery.
Now, Kamle was asked about the strict interpretation of Islamic law by Islamic State. Things like people being stoned to death as a result of committing adultery or having their hands cut off if they were thieves. He said it wasn't up to him to question religious beliefs, and he said it was just following what's written in the Quran. He claimed that Islamic State gave him and his family a house to live in, and he even said that it was something of a normal life, albeit one in a war zone. But he did say that there was a possibility he would have been killed if he didn't follow orders, and that related to some of the propaganda videos that he appeared in where he was seen extolling the virtues of Islamic State.
They wanted me to send a message to the Muslim world outside and the Western world outside that they were going to sit tight in Raqqa. So they gave me a piece of paper. I had to try and memorize it. I played a bit with the words because some of those things were very dangerous in what they wanted me to say.
Kamle said he was arrested in Baghuz. Now, that was the scene of an intense battle with Islamic State back in 2019. He went as far as to claim he didn't know why he was being held in a Syrian jail, that no one had explained his alleged crimes to him. He insisted he hadn't pledged allegiance to Islamic State, and he claimed it was a misconception that everyone going to Syria at the height of the Islamic State caliphate, or the attempt by Islamic State to create a caliphate, he said it was a misconception that everyone going there was trying to join the group. He said he didn't have any contact with his wife and his children. He didn't know where they were, nor was he in contact with his family. He said when he first raised the idea of going to Syria, his family had been staunchly opposed to it, his mother even threatening to tell the authorities what he was planning to do in a bid to have his passport cancelled. Now, all of these comments from Kamler back in 2025 are clearly an attempt by him to distance himself from alleged crimes by the Islamic State group there. But we do need to stress an arrest warrant had been issued by police for him. So clearly there is a sense in Australia from authorities that he has committed a crime.
So we've gone from this man denying that he was fighting for the Islamic State and for ISIS, and to Sky News wanting to develop this into a story which fascinates me, because the story really now is about confronting the government in terms of them becoming a left-wing Islamic state terrorist propagandists. That's really what Sky News through Peter Credlin is trying to convince us. And I find it a little upsetting that they should do that, given that they are the arbiters of truth, and that they are the ones who insist that there should be something done about the divisiveness that happens in this country, that clearly they believe they don't play any part in that divisiveness. But it is obvious they only present the one side of the story. They don't give you a broader version who this doctor is, what his circumstances were, how he now finds himself, and they did not mention the fact that he will be arrested when he returns to Australia, and a court will decide as to whether he's guilty of any crimes. Didn't bother to mention that at all, because they wanted the attack to simply be against the Labor Party. Now, there's this other story which you might be wondering why in the hell this is relevant as well. And this is the story about the ABC playing it was a session or a show. It was a show, I guess, which I haven't watched, but which I've seen a number of times, the particular video. I'm not going to play that to you. But it is where the ABC are taking on responsibility for some stuff that was said about Gina Rinehart that was wrong, in my view, that it was uncomfortable, should never have been aired either. I certainly agree with them around all of that. But I wanted to play this because this is on the media show, and this is indicative of the sorts of things that I'm talking about. So I'll play this video for you, and you can, I guess, decide what I'm talking about.
Rightly called out that ditch the witch language that was used against the Victorian Premier recently. Shouldn't this just be a simple apology that the tone is off here?
Look, that's the first time I've seen that, and I was just there taken aback a little bit. The language isn't right, and I think you've heard the Prime Minister say this over and over. The language just needs to be toned down a little bit by leaders, by broadcasters, by people on this very channel, Trudy.
That was my point, but let's listen to the response, that the tone should be toned down just a little bit, including you on this channel, he says. So this is the Media Watch, that's an insult, Media Show's response.
Jerome Laxale, everyone. The problem is actually us criticising him for using our tax dollars to make stuff like this. But wait, there's more. What about that censorious lefty, Julie Inman-Grant from eSafety, who gave a press conference this week, literally?
So anyway, the point is they then choose to attack. So they have this guy on, they interview him, and then they attack him. And this is the sort of thing that we see from Peter Credlin all the time, that firstly she'll present a story. The story is not fully vetted in terms of at least giving both sides of the story. It's always one side of the story. In this particular instance, the story is about attacking the Labor Party because there are extreme left and jihadists, apparently. And then they have this other bit on where they have the guy on the show talking about and criticising the division that's created by Sky News, and then they produce a video which shows him doing something stupid on TikTok. That is who they are. That is who News 24 now are. They are a revolting piece of right-wing propaganda and must be called out on every occasion for who they are. If you agree with what I'm saying or not, it doesn't matter. Please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications, do what you need to do. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime,